Yo, ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Good to see you all. It's nice to be back. It's nice to be back. It really is. Back in Melbourne now, recovering. That's what I'm doing. I'm recovering right now. I don't know. I feel like a trip like that takes it out of you when you're not used to it. If you're lazy like Ping. Yeah, let me throw up this court sketch from earlier this week for you. It's like one of the only court sketches we got this week. Good to see you all. Hey, good to see everyone. Yeah, no more full frontal cameras for you. No more. None. You can have 0 right now. Me when I get, some time to recover, we'll look at doing that. But at the moment, I'm back in my setup in Melbourne. We're gonna go through I'm gonna try go through sort of what were the main points that we heard and learnt this week. And, I think they will be yeah, this will be probably the first bit. All right. Just gonna set up my all right. So on Wednesday, we weren't given at least I wasn't given access on Tuesday, but nonetheless, on Wednesday, we heard from two different people. Who were these people? Well, one is what we keep getting referred to, especially in the when we're listening and in the stuff we get and things like that. They call her Dr. Rogers, but I think her real name is Nanette Rogers. So, but it's always quoted as Dr. Rogers. So that's the first person we heard from. It was Wednesday morning. Jury comes in. Jury comes in, and it's all rise and everyone gets seated, and it's down to business. It was Nanette Rogers giving her opening address, and that is where we heard about some things that I think will probably come up later. We'll have to wait and see, but it's some of the things that you know we heard. Well, it was a lot of things. It was like five hours of opening statements, something like that. 3-4 hours. It was a long opening statement for the prosecution. So if you've not watched this before, I'll explain it. Dr. Nanette Rogers is the prosecution. Okay. On the other side, you have Colin Mandy, SC. Colin Mandy, SC is the defense. So as we go through it, you'll know about these two people. You'll hear them quoted a lot. So let's talk about it a bit more. Yeah, it's good to see you all. Good to see you all. All right. Yeah. I'm at home and I feel like I'm still as slow as on the laptop. All right. So I'll give you the briefing that we have here. Okay. So why are we at this trial? Well, it's for Erin Patterson. Miss Patterson has been charged with having murdered her husband's parents. So her husband's parents are Don and Gail. The other two people involved are Heather Wilkinson and Ian Wilkinson. Heather Wilkinson is his aunt, and his uncle is Ian Wilkinson. And if I remember correctly from the family tree that we saw on the screen, it's Gail's younger sister is Heather Wilkinson, and that's sort of how the family tree works. Yes, it's Dr. Nanette Rogers, SC. That's the full title, but it's often abbreviated to Dr. Rogers. Good, yeah. Good to see you all. We keep going. And in this opening address, we caught a few different things. Some of the things said to the jury, and if I bring this up, guys, hold on. There's something wrong. Hold on a sec. We're having tech issues even back in Melbourne. I think I have a ghost following me. Hold on. All right, sorry. There's something up with the net. I keep seeing my net thing like drop to 0, and I'm not sure if there's something. I hope you guys can see and hear me properly. Um, SP Mama says, "Nice, glad you're back. Then again next week." Yeah, we're gonna be back next week. Okay, let me get back to my notes. Okay. All right. So back to what Nanette Rogers opened with. She said in her opening statements that she had told police that she had never owned a food dehydrator nor dehydrated food, but that she had owned one years ago. And that was said in that opening statement by Nanette Rogers. But she had, in fact, and at various points, had shared photos online of her using and I think buying this food dehydrator. So it was a strange. It was a point brought up on that opening statement. S- Uh, she said that they had shared these particular photos and her habit or her recurring use of it with Facebook friends that she had met online. And the online group or page that she was involved with was a page for Kelly Lane. So we've talked about Kelly Lane before. You guys, if you don't know who Kelly Lane is, you can Google it. But Kelly Lane was another big case in Australia a number of years ago. You can Google it, or if you search my name and then Kelly Lane, I'm sure there's a show or two on her. But later on in that opening address, they say that CCTV footage had later showed Erin dumping that dehydrator at a local tip. Furthermore, forensic analysis later revealed that it had fingerprints on it, and they were hers, they were Erin's, and it contained forensic traces of death cap mushrooms. They say here the disposal of that particular dehydrator had been done uh, to conceal her actions, according to Nanette Rogers, SC. Rogers also told the jury that police never recovered a certain phone used by Erin Patterson at the time of the mushroom lunch, the family lunch that everyone knows about. And another phone had been actually taken by police during an investigation and was subject to a remote factory reset while they were searching the phone. They were saying they had made a point of this remote factory reset, that this was done somehow not on the actual phone. It had been someone had logged in maybe to another console or something and had reset it. Dr. Rogers also said Erin Patterson had concocted the story regarding medical issues and her cancer to ensure that children were not present at the lunch, the lunch where the beef Wellington was served. We all know and have known, and we got it confirmed this week during this opening address, that Simon was also invited to the lunch at Leon Gatha, and this was back on the 29th of July 2023. Says here, at that particular lunch, July 29th, 2023, Erin had served individual Wellingtons to her guests, 3 of whom had died after that lunch. And they believe, well, what they told us is death cap mushroom poisoning. Rogers also said the prosecution is going to allege that Patterson had not eaten the same lunch as her guests, but had pretended she had the same type of illness to cover as a cover story, and that she had not fed any of the leftovers to her children and lied about where those mushrooms came from. One of the other things that was said during that opening address was about motive. What are we going to do about motive here? And it says in my notes, Nanette Rogers says they will not be suggesting there was any particular motive for the alleged murders and attempted murders. And then she goes on to say, you might be wondering now, why would the accused do this? What is the motive? And she says, you might still be wondering at the end of the trial. But motive is not something that has to be proven by the prosecution. You do not have to be satisfied what the motive was, or even if there was one. And it goes on, she goes on to say that Erin Patterson had invited Simon and his relatives to her home to discuss medical issues and how she would tell her children about these particular medical issues. She had invited the group to her home, and at that home, sorry, I'm jumping around my notes a little bit. No, I'm saying she invited the group to lunch, and this was said at a service at the Baptist Church, the Corumburra Baptist Church, and this is where Ian Wilkinson, he was a pastor at that church, and that was on the date they gave for that was 16th of July 2023. So a little bit before that July 29th date for the lunch. All right, let's scroll down. Yeah. So the night before the lunch at Erin's home, Simon texted Erin that he wouldn't be attending because he felt uncomfortable, but he would give her some time to talk with him and discuss her health at a later point. He said that they could have a phone conversation. In this text exchange, Erin responded later on, and she said she was disappointed and had been emphasizing in this message that she'd put a lot of time and effort into this special meal, and she may not be able to have this type of lunch for some time in the future. So it was important that everyone attended. And according to my thing here, Rogers said the Wilkinsons had been a little puzzled about going to lunch, as Nanette Rogers says they had never ever been to Erin's home before in the past. They were like, why are we getting a invite? On that opening address, Nanette Rogers also showed a photo of a dining table. And that dining table, I think I described it to you as one that you see in a lot of homes. It was a 6-seater. It was next to the kitchen I think the word, hold on, let me check my other notes. Okay, parallel to a kitchen bench, like a kitchen type long bench, island bench, sure. They said, yeah, that was that. Okay. The meal that was served at that lunch was individual beef Wellingtons. So like small ones, not like the ones, those real long ones that everyone had been posting about, like little tiny ones. They consisted of the following ingredients: steak covered in mushrooms, which I think we heard was ribeye, like a type of ribeye. It was encased in a pastry, and it was served with mashed potato and green beans on 4 large, plates that she gave to the guests. Erin's meal was put onto a smaller, light-colored plate that was different from the guest plate, which were large gray plates. They all gathered round for the meal, and they said grace, and then they started eating and enjoying their meal. The Wilkinsons apparently ate their meal, with Gail only finishing about half of her portion, and Don eating his entire portion, and he polished off the rest of Gail's portion too. So he had like 1.5 meals. After the meal, Patterson announced to her guests that she has cancer and asked what she should do about telling the children. They say here that at a point previously, Erin had discussed with Gail that she'd had a biopsy on her elbow, and other tests had been taken regarding a lump she had found on her elbow. And then she told the group that this was cancer. The group said that the best practice would be to be honest with the children, and that then they proceeded to pray together about this, telling the children and it going okay. After the lunch, about between, I think it's about 10, nope, 11 or 12 hours later, after everyone sat down and had this lunch, people started to feel unwell. And Nanette Rogers said that later on, these people that fell unwell ended up being taken to various hospitals in the area uh, for treatment. We'll get more into that in a minute. Yeah. Yeah. After the subsequent, or after the beef Wellington lunch, when the guests became increasingly unwell, medical experts eventually came to the conclusion that the symptoms were uh, in line with what they would expect for death cap mushroom poisoning, according to Nanette Rogers. By the way, I will put up a photo for you of Nanette Rogers if you'd like, since you guys have not been there to see her. Just so you know who's talking right now. It's nice to see her face, but the one you have right now is Erin Patterson. Sorry, I know I'm not talking to a lot of people, but we got a lot to get through, everyone. We got a lot to get through. We've got 3 days of stuff to get through. Yeah, let me upload this photo, and I'll credit this photo in the to the photographer in the description after the show. It's one lesson Ping learned this week. Creditation or credit to the correct person is very important, especially in media. Yeah, there you go. There's Nanette Rogers for you. Okay. Let me get back to my notes, if I can. Okay. Okay, all right. Okay. Nanette Rogers said during this opening address that Patterson had been asked on numerous occasions by medical staff and others, including Don and Gail's son, his name is Matthew, where the mushrooms for the meal had come from. She told these people that half were fresh and the other half were dried mushrooms. The fresh mushrooms came from Woolworths, which, if you're in a foreign country other than Australia, Woolworths is a large grocery chain in Australia. The other half were dried mushrooms bought from an Asian grocer somewhere in the suburbs of Oakley or Glen Waverley. She further specified in these conversations that she had bought a 500-gram pack of mushrooms that were pre-sliced from a Woolworths and that the dried mushrooms had been removed from their packaging and that she had placed them in a container after they were purchased. And she says in this opening address that those particular mushrooms were purchased in April of 2023. Erin had said that to prepare this meal, she had made a paste with the mushrooms for the beef Wellingtons, and that she had used all of the dried mushrooms and had not used them at a previous time. So she had not ever used the dried mushrooms she'd never tested them or used them at a different period of time. Nanette Rogers has said Patterson initially resisted having treatment at the hospital and signed a discharge against medical advice form before leaving. The jury had been shown a photo, like a screen capture of footage of Erin Patterson leaving the hotel. Leaving the hotel? Leaving the hospital. That'd be a weird place to get medical treatment. Leaving the hospital, not a hotel. I promise. There was no hotels. Nanette Rogers said one of the doctors, his name is Dr. Christopher Webster, had been so concerned that she'd left this hospital, he called the police asking if they could do a welfare check and get her to return to the hospital. According to the opening address, she did eventually return to the hospital about 45 minutes later. Yeah, let me pull down this photo. There you go. You can see my dumb face. So, as you can tell, this opening address was very long. It it was a lot of information on day one. Patterson had told uh, Patterson had told Dr. Webster that her children, aged 9 and 14, had eaten those leftovers, but she scraped mushrooms off, and then the doctor insisted and emphasized, like the emergency here, that the children should be removed from their school and medically assessed. Like, this could be, they're already seeing all these other people. They're worried, especially now you've got children involved. They wanted to make sure that these kids are okay after, these adults have presented with symptoms. And Nanette Rogers says Erin became very upset at this particular request. She asked Dr. Webster, "Is this really necessary? They don't have any symptoms. They didn't eat the mushrooms." And she said, "I don't want them to be scared." To which Dr. Webster replied, "They can be alive, they can be scared and alive or dead." The doctor was trying to emphasize the seriousness of the situation to Erin. Soon after, Rogers said the police, who had been called by Dr. Webster to check on Patterson, arrived at her property. The officer spoke to Erin via cell phone, and she told him where he could find the leftovers of the meal. It was located in a brown Woolworths bag in a bin outside of the home. Okay. So that was a lot of what would happen on day 1. You heard this huge address about all these different things. Oh, actually, there's a bit up here. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this bit. The prosecution earlier in their address also alleged Erin Patterson's records of her phone, so cell phone records, suggest that she had 2 times in the past visited areas where death cap mushrooms had reportedly been discovered, posted about, and they were posted on a website called iNaturalist. So it's a website. They showed us a couple of screenshots. Actually, can we look it up? iNatural. Actually, I'm not sure if we're allowed to do that. Apparently, it's a website where you can report different sightings of certain things. So they showed us 2 separate reports of death cap mushrooms in 2 different locations. That's what that refers to. And it says here, um, there was public posts that were on the iNaturalist website that corresponded with the times that Erin visited those locations. On the iNaturalist website, it had specific information, including images of the mushroom and information about where they could be found. And the towns that these 2 different places were, they're called Lock and Outram. So I can put the spelling of Outram in the chat for people who don't understand my Spanish that I speak. That's the pronunciation. The other one is Lock, like I guess like a lock in Scotland. Right. Yeah, so that's the iNaturalist bit. Okay. So we talk about that was the prosecution side of it. It's very scaled down. I'm sure you can understand it's like 5 hours or 3 or 4 hours worth of addressing the jury. So I've tried to scale it down to bits that you know that you guys would want to know, or what I think should be reported. And I want to talk about Colin Mandy SC. So later in that day, it was quite late on, about 3:30, maybe just after the afternoon break. Colin Mandy SC had his turn at a opening statement, and he proceeds to tell us that there's not a whole lot that a defense lawyer can really do at this stage of proceedings. He's saying that where they do their work is later on when they can argue against things, or you know show why different evidence is not as it is. So he's saying that, like, in his opening statement, we're not going to hear a whole lot. And I will tell you what he did say, though. Colin Mandy did tell the court, though, this is during his opening statement, that it was not in dispute that Patterson had never been diagnosed with cancer. The court, uh, like we said earlier, she had told those lunch guests that she had ovarian cancer. But Colin Mandy said an issue in this particular trial would be how Erin acted after her lunch guest fell ill, and whether that was reasonable in the circumstances, especially given the extreme public health, and there's a lot of media and police scrutiny on her. Mandy goes on to say 3 people died because of the food Erin served on that particular day. How did she feel? How did she feel? And how might that have impacted on the way she behaved? Is it possible that people might do and say things that are not well thought out and might in the end make them look bad. Is it possible a person might lie when they find out people are gravely ill because of food they have served? There you go. Mandy also said it was not an issue. So he talked a lot about issues. What are issues and what are not issues? Colin Mandy said it was not an issue, an issue that death cap mushrooms cause the deaths. He instead said the main issue will be that uh, that Erin did not deliberately serve poison food to her guests. And he goes on to say he did not intend to cause any harm to anyone on that day. And that the defense's case is that this is a tragic and terrible accident. Colomandy said that Erin had also become sick from eating the same meal as her other guests, but was not as unwell. He also told the jury she had lied to police about never foraging mushrooms, but denied having ever deliberately sought out death cap mushrooms. So, yeah, there you go. He also went on to say one last thing that Patterson, they also say on the defense side that Patterson lied about the dehydrator. So you heard from that earlier from Nanette Rogers. Nanette Rogers was saying in her opening statement that Patterson told police she never owned a food dehydrator nor dehydrated food, but said that she may have owned one in the past. I think the wording was like years ago. And then you get the defense's turn up here, and Colin Mandy said Patterson had lied about the dehydrator. So, hey, Jess T, how are you? I'm just starting from the beginning. It's not like this is like this is my first time doing this particular case. I've been at trial all week. I'm just doing like throughout the trial it gets broken up very easily, and it's sort of like just small updates every night of like bits of information that we're allowed to report or what I think is important points for you to hear. I started tonight just to tell you sort of like a recap of all the days because I think it's important that we have one video from the week that people can just go and watch and sort of get the entire week. So, and I think that's working okay so far. Earthkeeper said Colin Mandy SC is an excellent attorney. I don't know. I see him in court. I see him do his work. I don't know. Jess T said Simon wore his wedding ring to his parents' funeral in 2023. I can't say I've seen a lot of Simon to tell you, unfortunately. Yuda says, did she get rid of the dehydrator before or after they died? After. So it was in the couple of days after that everyone fell ill, she got rid of that dehydrator. All right, let me get my notes for day 2. So day 2, we finished these opening statements from the prosecution and the defense. On day 2, it's actually, wait, on day 3, it's day 2 for me, but actually day 3, they had a day on Tuesday too. On day 3, they call their first witness. The first witness is Simon Patterson, ex-husband of, or estranged husband is the word they use, of Erin Patterson. Allegedly, that's right. Hey, Gayla, how are you? Good to see you guys. All right, let's continue. Let me grab my notes from day 2. All right. Guys, give me a sec. I have to get a new file. Hold on. All right, there we go. Sorry, we're not used to working off Word documents. Like normally we work off other stuff, not Word, things. Good to see you all. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we're finished with Simon. I think on Monday there'll be more. I have no idea. We'll see. But the rules of the chat is you guys can't float any theories or anything like that. Otherwise, we have to delete them. It's actually against the law of the court. So the idea is like you guys can comment or whatever, but you can't be like saying like, "Oh my god, she's guilty. Oh my god, she's a crazy bitch," or whatever. Like, no, you can't say stuff like that, even in the live chat. Otherwise, I have to shut down the live chat and delete the entire video. It's just unfortunately, while it's in trial, it's very limited in what I can say and what you guys can comment on, because according to the law, I'm apparently responsible for your comments because it's my YouTube. Yeah, so if you've never heard that before, I know a lot of people maybe have never heard that before. It's apparently my responsibility for anything you post. I know, I didn't know that either, but apparently that is true. Hey, Aussie Trisha, how are you? Yeah, you can go nuts. You can go nuts. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're just trying to keep me out of jail. That's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to keep Ping out of jail. All right. Day 2. So day 2 was a really full on day. First witness brought up is Erin's estranged husband. Ex-husband's not the right word. The word we kept hearing in court is estranged. So we're going to use that word. Nanette Rogers, first up, said Patterson. Yeah, so never ended. Yeah, no. No, that's not what we want. Sorry, guys. Apparently, I am terrible at this. My notes are literally like 600 pages deep right now. Hold on. Give me a sec. Maybe I should screenshot them before we get on here. Hold on. All right. So on day 3, under this under the witness, so he's the first witness to testify about what he knows, and one of the things they talked about was this child support issue that came up, and the child support thing stemmed from Simon listing himself on his tax return as separated. So he had actually listed himself as separated on his tax return. And he says this upset Erin because it would affect her family tax benefit. So I don't know personally how that works, but I'm guessing that if you have a different income or something, it'll mean you don't get as much money from the government. So Erin said to him, "I'm going to have to claim child support from you to make up for that money." And this is the quote here. Yeah. This was a signal message that was shown to the jury, and they were shown this message between Erin Patterson and Simon Patterson, and it talks about this child support payments. The date listed on this is 21st November 2022. So about what would it be? About 23 about 7 months before. 7 yeah, 7 or so, 7 months and a little bit before the lunch. And on the Signal app, Erin's message to Simon said, "FYI, I put in child support application so that I can apply for family tax benefit as I said I was going to do a few weeks back. Their procedure is to try to contact the father, by phone or letter, I don't know which, to confirm basic details such as you accept you are the father of the children and we agree we're separated." They ask for a date of separation, and she goes on to say it's kind of a moot because the assess it's kind of moot because the assessment doesn't begin until the date I applied, and she says which is November 18. She also says in this message, but I said September 14th for the sake of having a date. They'll probably ask you to confirm this. So and she said, well, they'll probably ask you to confirm that. So, yeah, they'll probably ask you to confirm that so our information lines up. Just FYI. And then Simon replied to her, "Thanks for the heads up." So they're talking about this child support application. They also say about child support was this, that Simon agreed to do this. He wasn't against it, and that he ended up being assessed for quite a low amount. He told the court, when asked about it, it was hardly anything. And he agreed up until this point he had been paying for the children's school fees. Colin Mandy asks him about the child support authorities advising him to stop paying school fees. And Simon tells the court he was told he would be paying double if he paid Erin child support and paid the fees. He says this was before he knew how much the child support payment would be, and that it ended up only being about $40 a month. He says this created friction between Erin and himself. So yeah, only about $40 a month for his child support. He said in this testimony that he had been told that this happened to a lot of people where they pay money outside of the child support agreement, and then they have to pay their like obligations through the child support system, and they pay twice. This is what that was referring to. So they were saying, "Hey, don't pay her any more money. Just pay your child support." Yeah, we'll get to that. That would be interesting. I don't think I have heard any testimony that I could point you to about that particular point. But we did hear about these large loans that Erin had given out to various family members. But I don't have anything that would give you a direct answer, unfortunately. Simon said, Sean said, child support is all he needs to pay by right. That's correct. That's why they gave him that advice to not give Erin any more money because legally, as a legal obligation, he only has to give what the department tells him to. Yeah, it doesn't say DHS, I don't think. Let me check my notes. It just says here in my notes that child support authorities. So I don't know who that is. I don't have too many baby mamas. I can't help you. I'm not sure. All I can tell you is that that's what he was assessed on. The child support workers told him not to double pay. That's what they were telling him. Don't double pay. Don't send money outside the agreement. Just pay what you're asked to pay through the child support. Services Australia. Well, there you go. Same. Services Australia is the top controlling company, right? For the government for payments. It's like the top hierarchy. But under that you have various different different government departments. Centrelink, Medicare, probably child whatever the child one's called, other ones, they all go under that umbrella. So it's like a hierarchy thing. So yeah, Services Australia is sort of like that top one, and then you have various agencies underneath. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't heard any much more about any of that, the loans, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that soon. One of the other things we heard from Simon's testimony as a witness, Colin Mandy questions him about Erin's weight gain and whether she felt self-conscious about that. And in my notes here it says, "Do you accept she wasn't happy with the way she looked?" And he says, "Erin is not particularly happy with how she, probably most aspects. I don't think she has a high self-esteem." He also said, he'd never heard Erin explicitly tell him that that weight gain was any kind of self-esteem issue for herself. He said he'd not really heard that, but he said that like most people in society might feel that way. So I get what he's trying to say. Our society often judges people like on their weight and things like that, and that it's often connected to self-esteem, especially for women, right? Like that's a big thing, unfortunately, as sad as that is. So that's what they're referring to here. Um, yeah. He was also asked in this testimony about plates and other crockery at the Leon Gather home. Simon says Erin had a mixture of plates, and he describes this like this: "It's not that they were all different to each other. She had a bunch of ceramic plates." And he says generally they weren't all the same. There were a few the same as each other. Mandy asks, Colin Mandy, "So there's no set one?" Simon says it was a mismatched group of plates with some matching ones in the collection. He recalls one colored plate in the collection. He also agreed that Erin would have had somewhere between 8 and 10 plates in the entire house. So they asked him, one of the questions was like, how many plates do you think Erin actually had in the property? And he said somewhere between 8 and 10. And he said, yeah, that seems about right. So Sean says, was it established that she left him? Earlier in the question, I can't remember what date it is. I'll have to look it up. I don't want to jump too much back and forward. I think it must have been on this day, so we may get to it in a minute. He said when he was asking a question about separation, he said something like this: When I was living with her, or like after the separation, when he would return to the family home, it was him that would leave. But when they were together earlier, it was always her leaving him." So he described it as like that. So when they had these like reconciliations, it tended to be him who left, and then when they were together, living together, that type of thing, it was her that would leave the relationship. I will find the exact quotes for you. I'm sure we're going to get to it in a minute. Colin Mandy asked Simon if Simon's family network, so they have a really big family network, and they called it a wider family network. Sorry, my notes are like this big. Was it an important part of Erin's life? He says in reply to this question, there were some connections there, some good relationships, I thought. Simon also agreed he and Erin attended many meals at his parents' home, but says generally, but generally other relatives also attended. So there were often like family gatherings at his parents' home. Simon's asked about the characterization of Erin as a devoted mother, and his reply is, "She seemed like a devoted mother most of the time." He also says, he also agreed, so he probably gave his answer. Let me double check on the big notes. I think he just said, "Yep." He agreed that Erin took her role as a mother seriously and allowed their children to pursue their interests. So, here we go. Actually, someone just sent this to me. Thank you. I don't have this, and I don't know where this comes from. I wish I could so I could credit it, but this might help you for people who have not seen this. Give me a second. Let me upload this. For people who don't understand, so in court a couple of times we were shown a family tree. I don't think this is the actual one, but it's similar. Hold on, guys. Thank you to the person who just emailed that to me. I appreciate it. There we go. So this is that family tree. You guys can see how their family structure works, right? Don Patterson and Gail Patterson. Um, and it's father of Simon, mother of Simon. And then Heather Wilkinson and Ian Wilkinson, aunt of Simon, uncle of Simon. Then you have Simon Patterson, estranged. That's the word we've been told to use, not ex-husband, not anything else like that. The correct word is estranged. And Erin Patterson. And then they've had 2 kids. Who are they? No idea. They're not important. Um, just focus on the adults, right? The people in court are adults. So I just want to focus on them. The person charged with the alleged crimes is an adult. So let me go back here. Let me try to get back. All right. All right. So you guys want to talk a little bit about the houses? Let me see if I have it. I know everyone seems to want to talk about that. Let's see if I have that on my things. Hold on. Actually, I'd like to do a different bit. We'll get to the houses eventually, I'm sure. Here they talk about more about like the family get-togethers and how that worked. And it says a strange husband, so that's Simon. He was asked to describe, and he said Erin Patterson was very intelligent. He said, "I guess some of the things that attracted me to her in the first place was definitely her intelligence. She's quite witty and can be quite funny." He says during the pair's marriage, she performed home duties and also undertook studies, including legal and science courses. Dr. Rogers asked if it was rare for Patterson to invite guests over to the family home. He replied, "Very rare." He said after they separated, he said wider family gatherings involving siblings and other family members, including his parents, were not held. So there you go. Let me go back. He talks about the separations here. So Simon detailed in court testimony that about their early years of the couple's marriage, and he said in '07 the pair had traveled to WA where they lived for around 2 years. Their first child was born in '09. During that period, they separated for about 6 months, Simon told the court. They returned to Victoria in 2013, and their second child was born in 2014. Simon says they bought a house in Korumburra, and they lived there until 2015 when they separated, for a final time. Patterson then Erin Patterson decided to buy herself a separate house and move into it, also in Korumburra Borough. Simon says she moved into that particular house alone. Under further questioning by Nanette Rogers, Simon agreed with the question that the split in 2015 was a permanent separation. It was, he says it was strained and there was tension within it. And then he goes on to say, he agreed and he indicated, yeah, he agreed that he indicated to Erin that he wanted to reconcile their marriage. The pair had separated numerous times throughout their marriage up until 2015. And Simon says, when we lived together, it was always her leaving me. So when they lived together, it was always her leaving him. He says and agrees that the relationship stayed friendly after their separation in 2015, which he described as permanent, and they co-parented the care of their children together. Simon appears, yeah, yeah, yeah. So in my notes here, it says, um, actually, I'm not going to talk about that. That's okay. It's nothing you guys need to know about. Okay, let's talk about the money. In the same day of questioning, Erin, according to the testimony, received a substantial inheritance of about $2 million when her grandmother passed away in '06, Simon said. He said they dribbled it out really slowly, the executors. So he was describing it as she got these chunks of money every so often. He didn't quite know how often, whether it was half a year or yearly, but that she would get this money every so often out of this inheritance. Yeah, here's a bit more about that child support thing too. One of the quotes I have here is it's about that advisement by the child support. He called them the child support people in his testimony, and he said he had been advised by the child support people not to not to split the cost of the children's school fees because these would be covered in any payments to Patterson. And he goes on to say, I was sure she was very upset about that. So instead of doing what he normally did, he said he normally covered half of the school fees or a substantial portion of it. Um, and the fact that he basically told her no, because the child support people told me not to do that, he says, I was sure she was very upset about that. Yeah, we'll get to the loans. Lux says, I understand why Ping has to be careful. Why do random chatters like us can it get Ping in trouble? So, yes, the way it was explained to me is this, that because this is my page and I have people drawn to me, like they watch my shows, this is considered content. So anything you write in the chat, anything I put up on the screen, it's considered content. This content can be consumed by the jury on their weekend. They're not supposed to, but you never know what people do when they go home, right? If they read this somehow and it came up that I was polluting their minds or your comments were, they would come after me because it's my channel. So that's the way they see it. I know it sounds really harsh, but it's just the way it is. I can't change it. I can't just turn it off. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't just make it disappear. It's just the way it is. If you check a lot of the major news stations, they also have no comments on their videos and things like that. They don't have comments on Daily Mail or something. They don't have it either. At the end of the trial, when we get a verdict, either one way or the other, we can talk more about it. I can give you more opinion. I can give you more analysis. I can get you guys to tell me what you think. All those type of things. You just have to hold off until the end of the trial. So I hope I'm making it clear to everyone how it works. It could be. Maybe we'll hear more about that. We're very early in the trial. It's only been 4 days, and this trial is slated to run for up to a month and a half. So 6 weeks. It's a long trial. So maybe we'll hear more about that at some point. Sean said all media reports are very brief. Right. That's why when I was doing the nighttime reporting to you, my reports are very small. Except for the opening day, we had a lot to talk about on the opening statements, but every other day was only about half an hour. Because when we whittle it down to what we can talk about and what we have to cut out and things like that, it just leaves a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It leaves just not like hours and hours of content, even though we were there for hours and hours. It only leaves about, I don't know, a handful of points every day. Jess T said, "Is anyone allowed to attend the trial?" Yeah, sure. You can go if you want to. I will tell you two things. As someone who's been at the courthouse for most of the week, the court itself is very small. It is very tiny. It's not like even one in a metro city. So if you live in Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane or something, and you've been to a courthouse in the city, even the metro courthouses are bigger than this. This courthouse and the courtroom that this particular trial is in is quite small. I can't remember how many seats it is, but I think it's something like 30 seats for the gallery. 30. There's only 6 or something journalists that have chosen to sit in the courthouse each day because there's no seats, there's no room. So yeah, you can go though. I heard from someone else while I was in Morwell. They said that they walked in and got a seat on Friday, but I will preface it with this: Friday was a very quiet day. It was only a half day of court, and I expected it to be pretty quiet. I just thought it wouldn't be a super busy day. But Monday, being a full day, I expected probably to be a bit more busy. But you're welcome to go. Any member of the public can go. Yeah, it's like 30 or 30 something. I can't remember how many they told us, but it's not many. It's only a few. The courthouse itself is even not that big. It's sort of like, if I explain it to you, when I went there, you've seen the photos of sort of the front. You go down that alleyway, and then on your right, there's an entrance, and you go through security, and the security guys are awesome. Hello to the Morwell, the Latrobe Valley Magistrates Court security. They're good people that work there. Friendly people. They just want to do their job. Love them. You go through security, and then there's a set of stairs that go up, or an elevator, and you basically go to whatever level your courtroom is on. And I think on each level there's 2 courtrooms. So it's like I think it's like that. No, maybe there's one on the ground floor too. There might be like 1 and 2 on the ground floor or something, 3 and 4 on the second one, 5 and 6 on, I don't know, something like that. It's not many, and it's a really small, compact building. You can walk from one end to the other in about 2 minutes. It's really not very big. Yeah, but yeah, it's a tiny little courthouse, but it's beautiful. It's brand new. Looks like it was built maybe in the last, I don't know, 10 to 20 years. Like it's fairly modern. It's got like a lot of nice glass and stainless steel and things like that. Aussie Trisha says, I grew up in the Latrobe Valley but came to Melbourne at 15. I can tell you that it's beautiful out there. It really is pretty, especially in the valley. I can't. The thing that got me was how much fog you guys get every morning. Fog. It was like the thickest uh, f- fog that I've ever seen, and I've lived in Melbourne for 20 years. It was like you couldn't even see the road. It was insane. I'm worried about the jury. Don't worry, but yeah, just keep your opinions to yourself for now. Try and help the jury out in case they're being inquisitive, and just keep the theories, the accusations, anything like that. Just keep them under lock and key. We'll have all the time in the world to talk about them later. I promise. Just a month and a half. Just a month and a half. And we can talk about all the theories and this and that and analysis and breakdowns, and that'll all come later, I promise. And I've been working on stuff in the background for when that time comes. So it's all good. So are all the juries locals from Morwell? No, I don't think just from Morwell. I think it's anywhere in the Latrobe Valley. At least I think so. I'm not sure. But you would think there might not be enough people in Morwell to do it. It's not like the largest town. It's probably from a region. The way they tend to do things is sort of in big regions, like a council, LGA. It might be something like that. Warner Steele says, "I'll never live that long." All from the country. Yeah, yeah. I don't think anyone's from Melbourne. I don't think anyone's from Melbourne. So 15 jurors, and then they're going to whittle it down at the end of the trial via some method, and they're going to end up with 12, I think. 12 at the end. So they got 12 and 3 alternates or something like that. Um, Other than that, I don't know anything about them. I I I don't know, not anything. Couldn't even tell you. We are not shown any of the jury. I'm not shown any of the jury, so not that I would tell you anyway. It's against the law and against the court's orders, so I wouldn't tell you anyway. But yeah. All right. Can we continue now? All right. Let me get back to my notes. We're still on day 3 here. So this is Simon Patterson's first day on the stand as a witness. Oh yes, this is an interesting thing. If I can get this. All right. So this is Colin Mandy, SC, is cross exam of Simon. Mandy asked Simon about his parents' relationship with Erin. He he says that there was a close relationship between Simon's father, Don, and Erin, and they said that they shared a love of books together. So they both like books. And that Simon agreed under questioning that Erin had sought out Don's advice at times and valued his opinion. If you want to talk a little bit about the property, I'll do that after this bit. So, Colin Mandy is, yeah, in court. What happened was they had this sort of like back and forth about the word amicable. And Mandy was sort of like trying to get to the root of whatever he was trying to get to. And Simon said that their separation was amicable. Simon says the couple did not engage any lawyers as part of their separation. And then Colin Mandy asked Simon about an attempt to reconcile the relationship in 2018. They had just gone on a holiday to South Africa with their children. Simon said that this particular reconciliation attempt between them was in the end not successful. That it just didn't last. It says here, Erin's mum died in 2019, and apparently after her death, she left her estate to her two children. The court was told Erin used this particular inheritance to buy property in Mount Waverley in Melbourne and her home in Leongatha. SC Mandy says that despite the separation, both houses were bought under the couple's name as a joint title. Simon agreed that this was a sign of goodwill between the pair of them. So even in 2019, that's 4 years after the death, after the separation of Erin and Simon, sort of like their final separation. So then they had a reconciliation attempt in 2018 after a holiday to South Africa with their children. And then after Erin's mother died in 2019, that she got that inheritance. And yeah, it was put under both their names. Let me see what else I got on here. If we're going to talk about the house, let me go to my house messages. Okay. All right. Simon says in his testimony that prior to 2020, he had held out hopes that he and Erin would eventually reconcile together. He says that in around early 2021, they had a disagreement over whose name should appear on titles for the properties they owned. He says Erin was building her home in Leongatha, and he questioned that about whether she was using him for his contacts. Interesting. I don't know where that will end up going, but he felt used at one point. Let me see if I've got the other one about the how much of those loans and that for you. Yeah, let me see if I can grab that. Or we're going to talk about the other bit. Hey, go away. Duh, 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 duh. All right. All right. Trying to find the one about the house prices. Give me a sec, because everyone keeps wanting to talk about that. One of the things from day 3, before we get to day 4, Simon had recalled during testimony, witness testimony. Erin said she had conducted a series of blind taste tests with her daughter by putting dehydrated mushrooms in muffins. He had told the court Erin remarked it was interesting that the child preferred the muffin that contained mushrooms that uh, even though the child did not like mushrooms. And they described it like this, that these mushrooms are almost like a scientific experiment. One had no mushrooms in it. This one was like the control. One had like zero point 0.5 grams. One had 1 gram. One had 2 grams. One had, 5 grams or something. But he couldn't remember quite how many like grams on each one. But yeah, that the child actually liked one that had some mushrooms in it compared to the one that had none, even though this particular child was known within the family to not like mushrooms at all. They go on to say in the testimony that it's well known within the family that this child does not like mushrooms. Let's see. Where's I hate mornings? Okay, you guys are talking about how many people on the jury. Yeah, so hey Yuda, how are you? All right. So the cross examination continued from Thursday, day 3 into day 4. So we we heard that. So the prosecution asked Simons a few questions on day 3, and the majority or the lion's share of it so far has been the defense on this cross examination of Simon. That lasted, I think, about a day. Well, Friday's a half day, so half a day plus half a day. That's about it. Yuda, what's my email? Hold on. It's that without the comma at the end. I accidentally put a comma. Sean says like and subscribe for further info. Yeah, I'll be covering the trial. I'm actually back in Melbourne for this week, but for weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6, I should be back out at Morwell. I'm just back in Melbourne for this particular week, but the coverage won't change, except that I get to do it at this computer, which I love. I love this computer so much more than the laptop. All right. Oh, my back's still a bit screwed up from sleeping in the. Actually, I like the hotel bed. It's probably the fact that I sleep on such a crap mattress at my home, and then I went to a good one, and it's like realigned my back, so it feels different. All right, here, let's go. You like pumpkin and raspberry? Okay. Okay. Let me go to day 4. So day 4 would have been Friday. That's the half day. But I wanted to find my notes about the loans that were given out. Just let me double check. Just let me double check. Here. Ah, here. So Colin Mandy asked Simon Patterson about loans given to his siblings from a pool of money that included Miss Patterson's inheritance. Mr. Patterson, Simon Patterson, says the loans were given with an understanding that they would be repaid in a similar fashion to a mortgage, but with no strict repayment schedules. Um, I think he said it was just only tied to like inflation, and that was it. Mr. Mandy asked if it would be fair to say the money has never been a significant motivating factor in Erin Patterson's life decisions, and Simon said he agreed with that statement. This actually was beginning of the on Thursday. So this is right at the start of being cross-examined by Colin Mandy and not Nanette Rogers. Nanette Rogers was about 30 minutes ago in what we're talking about. One of my earlier notes from the cross-examination says, Mr. Mandy, Colin Mandy, uh, asked Simon if their friendship was strong between them after they separated, but prior to late 2022. Mr. Patterson said he isn't sure that the word strong is a word he would use, but accepts that he may have said that in a previous interview with police. He says it's not wrong. That relationship went up and down over time. He also confirmed he and Erin and their children took numerous trips together after their separation, including overseas holidays together. They also rattle off a bunch of these locations. I think I did it in a different video, and they just rattle off like a bunch of different countries and places in Australia. If you want to hear that, you could probably go back to like day 2. But I'm just sort of making these short notes today so we can sort of get through it. Um, I'm trying to find the stuff on the home loans. Why do I not have that? No, that's not it. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to see. Hmm. I'm not sure why I don't have that, but I'll find it for you at another time. The bit I'd like to talk about is when yeah, I think we've already dealt with that. So the other night we did actually talk about this section. This is not Colin Mandy. This was earlier with Nanette Rogers. Earlier in the testimony from Simon Patterson. They talk about this situation about the disagreements with the child support and the payments. Simon says Erin, Miss Patterson, reached out in a group chat on the app Signal. So we've heard about Signal a couple of times. He says that Erin directed her concerns about the child support arrangements to his mum and dad. He says here, I think it was pretty clear that she was asking them to get involved, so to get involved in their dispute. Simon says his parents called on the pair to resolve the issue together. He also says that Erin particularly got on well with his father, Don, and he says, I think she loved his gentle nature. And that's about his father who died. So, yeah. I'm just trying to find this bit here. All right. All right. So this will be Nanette Rogers. Okay. So during earlier questioning of Simon, this was um before Colin Mandy's cross exam, which took a bit longer. It says here that Simon Patterson had a conversation with his estranged wife Erin after the lunch had taken place. She had claimed she had also been ill. She said, and he says in his answer, she said she'd been having some diarrhea herself and it was quite frequent. Mr. Patterson says Miss Patterson indicated she had been experiencing diarrhea every 20 minutes or so, and that she had not wanted to get out of her car at risk of having an accident. He says, and I quote, she was worried that she'd poo her pants. He tells the court, uh, after a long day at a hospital, he returned to his own home at about 2:30 a.m. in the morning. He says he received a call at 7 a.m. the next morning from Erin, who wanted to talk. He says she was a bit indignant, maybe. She said sarcastically, I'll sort out my own problems, or something to that effect. He says Miss Patterson told him of further diarrhea and asked him to take her to hospital. He declined and told her to get an ambulance instead. So there you go. She might have had an. Ah, thank you. Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting. Yeah, thank you for that, Yuda. I appreciate that. I have to speak to someone about this because there's some uh yeah, we were supposed to get pool photos of the sketches, but I never received any. So I'll have to look into that. Let me see if I've got that you sent me. Is it this one? Yeah. So there's another sketch. This one from I don't know if it's the same artist or a different one. But you guys can see one there. Who's the composite for Victoria Hart slash The Guardian? So there you go. Victoria Hart did this particular sketch of Erin Patterson in court. So it's a good one to know. Oh, you got your grandkids at the moment? I was checking the chat. Anything bad? Oh, hey, Aussie Trisha. Aussie Trisha says, mad respect for your coverage. I checked the news Friday and it was almost exactly the same. Well done, Ping. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. I know Friday wasn't a lot to talk about. I think my Friday one was about 6 pages. It wasn't a lot, but I still gave it to you guys and got those updates out. It just was a very short day. It wasn't a ton going on, but I appreciate it. It'll be like that throughout the trial. I believe Fridays will always be a half day throughout the trial. So the news on the trial, it'll be a little slow on Fridays. Like you won't get the same kind of like huge big multi updates that you were getting like Monday to Thursday. Although this week coming up in a couple of days for you guys, it's tomorrow for us. This one will run Monday to Friday. So you're going to get a huge swath of information throughout the week because it's not as segmented as the other days were. So a lot of the other days, like Monday there was nothing really. Tuesday was jury impanelment, which was non-reportable, and really everything started Wednesday. And then Wednesday we had opening statements. Thursday was the um, Simon Patterson being called as a witness. Then it started with Nanette Rogers SC. She questioned him, and then Colin Mandy started questioning him. His questioning led into Friday, and they never even got done at the end of Friday. So we've still got maybe a little bit to go on Monday, maybe. I'm not sure. Joe Neal said it's 3 people dead in this case. Yes. Don and Gail Patterson. Heather Wilkinson is the third one. She is Gail's sister. And the fourth person is Ian Wilkinson. Ian Wilkinson is obviously married to Heather. They are the uncles of Simon, uncles and aunties of Simon. So it's his mum's sister's marriage. So he's married to she's married to Ian, and so it's an auntie and uncle. So there you go. Ian is the only one to have survived the lunch besides Simon, and that's it. But I appreciate the super chat. The support has been amazing. I appreciate it. Hey, Heather Stevens, how are you? Good to see you. Let me just check these for a sec. Just got to go over the comments because if anything bad, we just got to delete it, get rid of it. Looks good. I appreciate the mods having my back. It's great to hear. It is a very hard thing to do, covering trials live in Australia. Although the Guardian and other places seem to do it just fine. Okay, let me see. Okay, I think we've done that. We did that. All right, hold on. I just want to see if I can find my notes from the second half of Thursday, and then going into Friday. Give me one minute. All right. I'm going to leave day 3. If there's anything anyone specifically wants to know, email me. I'll include it on a different update. But yeah, this is what I had on my notes. So my notes may be slightly different to another news reporter or something like that. I sort of prioritized the things that I thought needed to be reported. So I didn't think personally that some of the loan things were that needed. Kaliza said, really appreciate hearing your updates on the trial. You do an amazing job keeping us informed and learn so much more than anywhere else. I appreciate it. That is my whole aim, is to make sure you get told as much as I can tell you without breaking the law. And I've tried to do that, although I've had to cut some things out completely because I just think they err too close to a couple of things. And I was like, I'll just play it safe and I'll just not do that at all. And I'm sure you guys can imagine what that might be if you think about it. I can't tell you what that is, but I'm sure it's not hard to grasp what that might be. Okay, let's go to Friday. So we did opening statements. We've done a bunch of the different sides of Nanette Rogers, Dr. Rogers, questioning Simon. We've done a bunch on Colin Mandy, but on Friday, Colin Mandy continued. So okay. So the court had been shown some messages between Erin and Simon, and they date on the 31st of July, 2 days after the lunch at Erin's home. At 12:30 p.m., Erin messages Simon and she says, "They're arguing with me now, saying I might have to go to Dandenong. This doctor is not listening to me and being a bit mean about it." Simon under questioning said this related to Erin wanting to be at the same hospital as her children. About 23 minutes later, Erin messages Simon, "I'm going to Clayton, full stop, squeaky wheel, full stop." At 1:03 p.m., Simon replies to the two messages and says, "Nice work. We're on our way there now. Kids are in good spirits." So he's saying the kids are doing pretty well. They're on their way to the hospital, and that, you know, he's like, "Nice work." At 4:03 p.m., Erin messages Simon, "I feel nauseous and a sore tummy, but they have given me some." Good work, Ping. Is that a real word? Hold on, I have to Google this. What is this? I what? I'm just trying to see if I wrote this down correctly. Ondansetron. Ondansetron? Okay. What is it? Let me Google it. Ondansetron, sold under the name Zofran, among other things, is a medication used to prevent nausea and vomiting caused by things like chemotherapy, radiation therapy, migraines, or surgery. It is also effective for treating gastroenteritis and can be given orally, intramuscularly, or intravenously. But down here it says routes of administration by mouth, rectal, and intravenous, intramuscular, and thin film. So apparently it's a drug given to people to stop nausea and things like that. So at 4:03 p.m., Erin messaged Simon saying, "I feel nauseous and sore tummy, but they have given me some of the ondansetron." Cetron? Okay. And they've also given sorry, I have to read it as it was said, as it was shown. Sorry. "I feel nauseous and sore tummy, but they have given me ondansetron and saline and fentanyl." So that's what she said in those messages. They also had some other messages. These are again go back to that Signal app, and these are between 21st of November 2022 and the 15th of August 2023. And the court was shown these messages between Simon and his estranged wife, Erin. The first message in this chain in November 2022 is Erin writing to Simon, and they're talking about the son's surgery and an anesthetist bill. So she is asking Simon to pay that bill. She wants Simon to pay that bill. And Simon replied saying, "The Department of Human Services has instructed me not to pay you anything for the kids from now on, so I cannot pay that, I'm afraid." Erin replied that the payment is not for her, but for the anesthesiast. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Simon says, "This is exactly the kind of thing they explicitly instructed me not to pay for." So this goes back to that child support thing where they told him not to double pay. So it's referencing that. So he didn't want to pay it based on the advice that he got from the child services department. Ah, it's a wafer. Okay. So it's like the ondansetron or whatever it is, it's a oral. That one's like one you put in your mouth and put on your tongue. Okay. Makes sense. It's for nausea. She said she was nauseous. Okay. I had never heard of it before. Okay. Jojo says fentanyl makes me very sick. I don't think I've ever had fentanyl. You know, it's not what I like to do in my spare time. Lux says ondansetron comes in various forms. It sounds like a robot. Hurry up and find the ondansetron. It comes in various forms. I've had dissolvable, regular tablets, and IV. Oh, All right, let's keep going with day 4. All right. Okay. So in some more Signal app text messages, the jurors were shown these messages between Simon and Erin. They date between the 14th to 15th of October in 2022. It says here, Simon said there was a lot of tension between him and Erin in their relationship at this particular point. He says uh, the relationship between Erin and his parents was also tense. In the messages that were shown to the jury and the court, Erin says she is very, very hurt that she's not invited to Simon's mother's 70th birthday celebration. Simon says this was due to a misunderstanding with his father, Donald. And in the messages, they read like this. Simon says to Erin, "Hey, are you coming to Mum's birthday lunch?" Erin says she's not aware of it, and Simon replies he thought his father had invited her, but his father may have gotten mixed up and not actually done it. Erin replies, "I'm not sure how your dad could have been confused. Seems that my invite tomorrow is a bit of an afterthought and not even from your parents, so I might pass. Thanks." She later messages Simon, "What I reckon everyone forgot to actually invite me to this thing." What? What I reckon is everyone forgot to actually invite me to this thing, and I feel very, very hurt about that. So she's saying that she thinks that everyone just forgot to tell her about it, and she's very hurt by that. Simon says Erin is free to choose to think whatever you want, but he says the 70th birthday event is very important to his mum, Gail. Erin says in a message that she'll attend the lunch and will bring the children. The following evening, Erin sends another message to Simon and says, "I'm sorry for shouting at you this afternoon. I was feeling very hurt and lashed out. I'd like to not do that again." Simon says, "Thanks for that." And he says, "Sorry, I raised my voice and tone too." So they sort of had this misunderstanding about the birthday party. Erin felt a little hurt by not getting an invite earlier, but it seems like they had a bit of an argy-bargy at some point, and they've sort of made up. The apologies got sent out, they're accepted, and everyone sort of chills out a little bit. In another line of questioning by Colin Mandy, SC, under cross-exam, uh, Simon gets questioned about what Erin's actions at that Leon Gatha hospital were after the mushroom lunch. Under that cross exam by Colin Mandy SC, he agrees. He agrees. Simon does that Erin hates hospitals when asked about her leaving against medical advice. So Erin was told by that doctor it is against our medical advice due to they're starting to cotton on at that point about death cap mushrooms and this not being a gastro outbreak. They think it might be some sort of like mushroom poisoning. And they're sort of figuring out that something else is going on, that it's not gastro. So the doctors are really worried about anyone else that was at that hospital that was at the lunch. Like they don't want them to leave because they're like, well, what if you get more sick and you're not at the hospital? So that's what they're referring to here. He says Erin hates hospitals when asked about leaving the hospital against medical advice. Mandy also tells Colin Mandy SC, also tells Simon there was some sensitivity about the need for their children to attend the hospital. Simon agreed, saying his two children both had past experiences with hospitals which were difficult. And that's as far as I'm going on the kids. I ain't doing any more on that. Uh, Let me see what else I got from the Friday. Okay, here. Erin struggled a lot with mental illness, according to Simon. They say Colin Mandy says Simon did not contact Erin after the lunch to inquire about the medical issue she had mentioned. So she was talking about that medical issue that she wanted to ask for advice on. And he says, Colin Mandy says or asks, is it not the case over the years that Erin often complained about medical issues and thought that she was unwell for various reasons? Simon replies, yes. Colin Mandy then suggests that there were unsubstantial that these claims were unsubstantiated. Simon says Erin told him she struggled with a heart condition which affected her sleep, and he says, I have no reason to disbelieve that. Simon said this required hospitalization at times, and he says she struggled a lot with mental illness and postnatal depression. I believe that was real. Colin Mandy says in October 21, Erin expressed concern about having ovarian cancer, but Simon says Erin has never told me she has had ovarian cancer. So he declines that claim. He says, no, I've never been told about that. All right, let me check if I got anything else from Friday. Friday was a short day. All right. I think besides the bit I missed about the housing prices and the loans, which I'll find for you, I'll get for you on a later show. I think we got just about everything I got throughout the week. Just let me double check here. All right. I think that's almost it. How long did we run for? Almost 2 hours of a recap. Hold on. Kathy says, let's get away from the med discussion, please. Yeah, you're all acting like drug dealers in my chat. It's not what we do here. I'm sure you could go to some other. No. Let me see. Hey, Robert, how are you? Nice to see you. All right. I think that was just about it. There's a couple of things I've left out. Um, if there's anything you really want more details on that I can legally provide you, you can let me know and I'll go through my notes. But I think that's the majority of it. I just started having a look. Some stuff about how they got the houses. Yeah, I think most of it got done. Yeah. Look, my recap was a little bit compressed, but I think that should get you just about ready for week 2. And I hope this week will go a bit smoother than last week. Last week was a bit of a jumble. It was just a lot all at one time. It was like being overstimulated for like hours on end. There's that photo again. I like that sketch. It's well done. What does a 3-bedroom house sell for where you live? I don't know. I think it would vary. I think there's some that sell for like $1.4 million. There's some that sell for like $700,000. So it would vary. I know that when my parents sold their house a few years ago, I think it was back in 2017 or something, when they sold their property, like it was, in that range, somewhere in that range. So Sean says it's a learning curve. Yeah, it really is. It's so different from what we normally do. This is not the type of true crime that we normally undertake on this channel. We normally sort of do like breaking news and like what's happening in the world now. This is completely different type of true crime reporting. It's very, very different. So it's been sort of picking up things as I go along, how to word things, because I'm so worried about screwing up. I get maybe too black and white at times, but I've sort of learned where the leeway is in certain things. Like you can describe stuff, but it has to relate to what you're going to say in a second. So that type of thing. Yes. So I am staying home this week. I will not be heading to Morwell on Monday, but I am covering the case throughout the week. Not from I can't say too much more than that. All I can tell you is that the coverage from last week to this week will not change. It'll be very, very similar, and it will be the same. There'll be no difference from me being in Morwell or here. The only difference is I won't be sitting in Morwell. That'll be the only difference. Kathy says, "Ping, we are so proud of you. What you're doing with this trial. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's it's been a long week. I tell you, it's been a long week. But met a lot of nice people. Met great people and stuff. Gayla says we have spies. No, we don't have any spies. But no, the coverage will be all right. So we're back in court 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. So tomorrow is Monday for Australia. What Sean says, what gets me is this mushroom isn't Australian and shouldn't be available to pick. I think from my understanding, the way it got here was people imported oak trees from Europe and like 100 years ago, and they imported them. And when they plant them here, they had spores of death cap mushrooms on the trees, and that's sort of how they spread around Australia. Was these imported oak trees that because an oak tree is not a native tree to Australia. So if you see oak trees here, they're an imported species. So Tavi says you're doing a great job, Ping. I appreciate it. It's very kind. Yeah, keep all your questions, write them down. If you have things you want to talk about, write them all down. Keep a little notebook, and we'll talk about it after the trial. I can answer all your questions as soon as we get a verdict. Like an hour later, I can set up a live stream and I can answer any question you have. Anything, as long as I'm legally able to tell you, I will tell you. So I'll give you my opinions. I'll tell you what I thought. I'll give you what I thought when I was listening to things. Just can't do it right now because we're not allowed to. Judah says, I'll email you my verdict. Okay. That doesn't mean we can talk about it. Robert says, must wind back to the start. I hope you do. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel for this giant project, which is this trial, there's not very many YouTubers who are doing this trial like I am. There's a lot of news agencies, there's a lot of podcast people and stuff like that. It's very few real YouTubers who have been to the trial, are watching the actual trial every day. I think I might be, if I'm not the only one, I'm one of like two. There might be me and someone else. There's not very many. So you are getting a very good look at this particular trial. Beauty for Asher says, hi Ping and chat as I made it. I'm going to go back and watch the replay for sure. Awesome coverage of this case, Ping. TY so much. I appreciate all of your comments. It is very kind of you. Yeah, there'll be a good show after the trial, I'm sure. I believe from my note taking, it'll probably be something like at least an episode per week of the trial. So it'll be like at least maybe 5 or 6 episodes later on. That's what I think, judging from my notes from this week. So I don't know. You tell me. Yeah, good to see you all. It's very late, very late. Hope you guys had a great weekend. So I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow after court. Again, it'll be a late one. I know a lot of you have been really sad at the how late the show times are, but unfortunately, it's just what it is. We get out of court so late in the afternoon. We mostly get out of court around 4:15, and then by the time I actually sit down, start passing through my notes, deleting stuff that I can't talk about, and things like that, it's hours after court. I'm not as fast as the journalists, all right? Those journalists are super fast. They're really good. But they often work in teams too. So they often have like one person doing this and one person doing that. And they're like working together, and very impressive. Very impressive. All the journalists that have been working on this story throughout, like Channel 9, ABC, The Age, The Guardian. Who else did I see? The Age, Guardian, The Herald were there. Um, they're all really amazing at their job. They do a great job. Well, that's not the way I would phrase it. The way I would phrase that is this. You can't say what you just said. The way you phrase it is this. Erin Patterson is innocent until proven guilty. She is an accused person. We have to treat her right now like she is innocent because no verdict has been handed from the jury. She is an innocent person. No verdict things in the chat, no bias, no predispositions, nothing. You must treat her like I do. She is innocent and she is on trial, and the prosecution must prove their case against her to get a guilty verdict. If they don't, it'll be a not guilty verdict. So please treat it like I do. It's been a rainy spring. Hey, Deborah, how are you, my friend? Oh, I have some thank yous. Hold on. All right. Well, one, I would like to thank our friend Aussie Trisha. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'd also like to thank JDR. Thank you very much. Deborah, thank you. It's very kind. And I think the one before that was Sean. Sean, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Did I miss any more? Let me double check. Carla and Diane, thank you very much to both of you. And my friend Betty C, you guys are amazing. Thank you very much for the donations. It is, I'm telling you, not cheap to do these trials. I think week one cost us something like $1,500 or something like that. $1,500 if you count all the fuel, food, stuff I forgot at home that I had to get for the trial, and the hotels and things like that. It was about $1,500. If you're going to do the entire trial, it'd probably be something like $6,500. So it's crazy. No, can't do that. I have to delete that. Jojo says, Ping, do you think trial will last 6 weeks? If they're going to continue at the rate they are right now, it might even go longer. Um, we only in week 1, we got opening statements, and we didn't even get through the first witness, and they already burnt a week. So it might be 7 weeks. It might be 8 weeks. I don't know. It sounds like right now it may go the full distance to a month and a half because seems to be like panning out that way. So it may be quite a long trial by the end of it. Kaliza, thank you. You like it? Okay. I don't know what that means. All right. That's right. Actually, the court explained very early on that you have to you must treat Erin like she is innocent because that's what our society asks for. That's what our the jury and the court, like that's how the court works, right? Like it's just everyone is deserving of that, no matter what the crime is alleged. Everyone is deserving of a fair trial and to be treated as an innocent person until proven otherwise or not proven. So I agree with the court. Retired RN says you're doing such a great job. Thank you for covering this trial. Thank you. All right, let's get out of here. I will see you tomorrow, late tomorrow, for what will it be? Day 5. Day 5 of the Erin Patterson trial. You'll get my notes pretty late at night. It'll be late at night for the majority of you. I'll probably be on about, I don't know, it's probably very early in the morning for a lot of you. So no, I know, but just you guys got to understand how bad the legal requirements are. Like they're very strict. Even your comment could be taken the wrong way. So, all right, I'm gonna get out of here for the day. I hope that was a decent recap. It was about 2 hours long. I hope it had some good information in there for you from the entire week, and it gives you enough knowledge to head into week 2, and keep up to date. Keep checking on it and see what happens in week number 2. What are we doing Monday? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We might be hearing more from Simon. Maybe I'm not 100% because I don't think we got direction on that. I'm not sure. We'll find out tomorrow. We'll find out in the morning. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good night, everyone. And thanks to Rebe for the thumbnail. How cool is that? Rebe made that. And she's like, "You're not putting thumbnails up." I'm like, "I can't do it on the laptop." And so she's like made all these thumbnails for me. It's very kind. No, you can't do that either. You just have to leave her be. All right. Good night, everyone. Peace out. Bye.